All America, all the time. Sit down, buckle up, and get ready for The Dan Bongino Show.
I really love you guys and ladies out there checking in the chat from all over the country. I saw just a minute ago in the chat, Waukesha, Wisconsin, big shout out there. Tulsa, Oklahoma. I actually been to Tulsa. Danny Boy O'Connor from House of Pain has, the Outsider's house out there. So I thank you. Do that every month. I'd love to see, it's a global audience. We have a big audience overseas too, but it's really nice. It makes it real. Sometimes, it's me and, 5 or 6 people in the studio, depending who's walking around in a microphone. I forget all the people we're talking to, and it really matters. The show's for you. It's not for me. I've got a special show today. I get it. Every host says that. No, I really do. I have a guest for you coming up later, Jonathan Alpert. You're probably like, well, who's that? He has a book out called Therapy Nation. Folks, it's fascinating. It's about the over-medication of our kids. We're going to get into in the interview how Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. Like, this is a very real thing. How dangerous the political environment's coming because of therapists and stuff telling people, oh, you know what? It's all okay. Nothing's your fault. Don't miss that coming up later. Of course, it's Election Day in Kentucky for the Massey Galrein race, which is a huge deal. I'm going to have some commentary on that. I got a couple takeaway points on that. And the beginning of the show, I've got just the best clip I think I've seen in a long time. It's hard because, and by best, I mean worst, of a liberal commentator in one of the biggest self-owns, not cell phone like you'd call, self, S-E-L-F-O-W-N, self-owned you'll ever see. It's apparently the first time she's ever heard that your big R God-given rights come from God. I'm stunned by this. One of my favorite clips. So I got a loaded show for you today. Please don't go anywhere. A lot to talk about. Today's show brought to you by, well, let me just tell you, you may have noticed over the past few years, especially after I went through the whole, battle for health and everything, I had to lose some weight. I was getting really bad osteoarthritis. I still have it. I had to lose weight. I didn't have a choice. I'm very concerned about what I put in my body. I did not want to try those weight loss injections. I just didn't want to do it. So I called my friends at Brickhouse Nutrition. They've been with me a long time. And I said, Miles, you got an option here? And he said, we do. We have this product coming out called Lean. That was years ago. The product is a huge success. We get tons of amazing feedback on it. You're looking to lose weight? Check out Lean. Visit takelean.com. Enter code THANKYOU25 for 25% off. People are talking about these injections all the time. So what if you're looking to lose weight but not interested in the injections, especially when you hear about the some of the intense side effects? The doctors at Brickhouse Nutrition created Lean, and the results are remarkable. I'm proof positive of it. The studied ingredients in Lean have been shown to help lower your blood sugar, help burn fat by converting it into energy. They curb your appetite and cravings, so you're not as hungry. It's really that simple. But listen, Lean is not for the casual dieter. Doctors created Lean for frustrated dieters with 10 or more pounds to lose. I had about 10 more pounds to lose. Here's even better news. They're having a huge Memorial Day sale, and Lean is 25% off. 25% off. Just try it out. That's all I ask. Visit takelean.com. Enter code THANKYOU25 for 25% off. Give it a shot. That's takelean.com. Takelean.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. The product's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease, and it's not a substitute or alternative for care from a healthcare provider. All right, fellas, let's go. I don't know what it is, man, but I got a lot of energy. I've been sleeping amazing. I don't know, something changed and has someone pumping oxygen in the room or whatever, but I don't know what it is. Like, it's some little oxygen fairy up in they pumping oxygen in the HVAC system. You notice the energy level has been through the roof. I don't know what's going on. So before I get to the big election day, I put it in the title, huge, stealing the 3 U's, huge. I sent that over to him. I'm like, no, you got to include all 3 U's. It's not a typo. It is a big election day because there's a lot going on. I want to play this for you first to kind of set the fact that, listen, intra-party fights happen all the time, okay? That's what primaries are about. Folks, don't buy into the Manichaean dystopian nonsense. The people are stealing the party, all this stuff. The party, we have an electoral process. It's called the primary. Whoever wins tomorrow is going to be the Republican nominee, or wins tonight. We'll know tomorrow. Whoever wins is going to be the Republican nominee. That people choose. The Kentucky 4 voters can pick who they want to be their member of Congress. That's how the process works. There's no need to engage in this leftist Manichaean end of the world nonsense and all this other stuff. I hate that. Intra-party fights are normal. However, keep in mind that there are extra party fights with the Democrats outside of our parties, the liberals and the communists, that are very real. And those can be very, very destructive when we lose. Here's what we're dealing with. Here's a segment I saw right before we were going to pop on the air. I hate just messing up the show in the beginning because we'd almost already done the rundown. This is Katie Tour at MSNBC, not a particularly bright individual. I want you to watch her in the beginning. She seems stunned by the idea that your rights come from a creator, capital G, God, and they're not given to you by other fallible human beings in government. She seems stunned by this. Even McKay Coppins from The Atlantic, who answers her here, who's not known for being like some big diehard MAGA dude, has to be like, what, this is like the first time you heard this? Really? Check this out.
What about this passage from Mike Johnson declaring that our rights do not derive from government? They come from you, our creator, and Heavenly Father. Is this him putting God over the Declaration of Independence? McKay?
Well, I actually think that idea is not wholly uncommon. I mean, the idea that we have certain inalienable rights that come from God can be read in a fairly benign way, which is basically that we have innate human rights that our Constitution and our government, our democratic government, are meant to codify, right? That idea is not totally abnormal.
Guys, I don't even know what to say. Has Katie Tour ever read the Declaration of Independence? You understand, this is endowed, thank you guys, that are endowed by their creator with a capital C. I don't know. Yeah, right. I couldn't find a date for this. Pretty old, maybe 250 years or something. This is absolutely stunning. I just want you to keep in mind today with all the intra-party stuff that happened. It's a primary. It's not the first or last time this has happened. Stop buying into doomerism and gloomerism. The party's over. We're not voting for your guy. Cut the bullshit. We are dealing with a very serious opponent in the liberal media, academia, and the now communist Mamdani AOC Bernie Sanders left that doesn't even understand that your rights aren't given to you by the state and them. They're given to you by God. Just keep that in mind today. Please, I refuse to fall into this trap of just nonstop black-pilling doomerism nonsense. I'm not doing it. And you shouldn't do it either. However, it is a huge day for the direction of the GOP moving forward. And this happens in parties. People were sending around my clip yesterday where I had addressed some issues I had with Congressman Massey, and that's fine. But, one of the things I said at the end of it was, no matter what happens, folks, this is a primary. These happen all the time. All the talk on X is just X talk. It's not IRL, like in real life. It's not real life. It's not real life. No matter what happens, given the choice between a Republican and a communist Democrat, the choice is obvious. That applies to everybody. This happens all the time. All of these people telling you they're going to collapse the party if their side loses, they're the same people who said this when the Trump primary in 2020, the Trump primary in 2024, the Trump primary in the 15, 16 years. They've said this all before. Party is going to be fine, but the direction of the party is important. So there's 2 points I want to bring up about the Massey Gulrine race today. It's happening in Kentucky for. Number one, regardless of what anyone tells you, there is a significant advantage to incumbency. I say that for a couple of reasons. When you are an incumbent, you have built a lot of loyalty in your district. Remember, running in a race for Congress is significantly different, obviously, than running in a statewide race for the Senate or for governor. It's fairly obvious. I mean, a congressional district is about 750 to 780,000 people, depending on population inflows and outflows over the course of 10 years, right? So you're dealing with a far smaller number of people. Honestly, probably, less than half of those people, when you factor our kids and everything else, vote. And probably only a percentage of those people who even registered show up to vote. So you're dealing with smaller constituencies. What I'm getting at is it's really easy to build loyalty in a district. Now, the polling, I'm going to show you a clip coming up in a second, seems to be pointing in the direction of the challenger, Ed Galrein, running against Massey. But the second point I want to make, so incumbents are very difficult to dislodge. But let me just finish that point. I'm very energetic today, almost too much. Slow down. And then about ADHD, that comes up in our interview later too. If Congressman Massey loses, like Bill Cassidy, who was the incumbent senator in Louisiana, who finished third in his race, we saw this weekend, and Donald Trump is clearly on the side of the challenger here at Galrein. Folks, that's a big statement. There's no dismissing it. There's no putting lipstick on it. There's none. And that works in both directions. There's no, whatever happens tomorrow, accept the result and move on. I mean, that's just how it works. There's no putting lipstick on it. But if he loses, the power of Donald Trump over the party, you putting lipstick on it, making excuses, isn't going to do you any good. If he wins, he's built a powerful constituency in his district, and that's who the Republican Party chose, and it's time to move on. There's no sense for endless drama. This is not Days of Our Lives. For those of you who grew up in the soap opera era. What were the ones what was the other one but the hospital? General. Remember that? This is soap operas. Here's the second point. Folks, prediction markets are typically where I go for information on this. The reason I do that is I just don't trust pollsters. A lot of them have an agenda. The way they frame the questions, I get, in a race, it's easy. This guy or that guy. I just don't really trust a lot of pollsters, not all of them. Prediction markets are different. Kalshi, and to be fair, they're a sponsor. You have Polymarket, they're not, but it doesn't matter who. Prediction markets are different because people have skin in the game. The prediction markets have been all over the place on this, but look to be trending towards the challenger. Again, what matters now is just votes. So here's Harry Anton from CNN. I play this guy on CNN not because I like CNN, but because he's not some conservative or Trump guy. So you can generally assume he doesn't have any skin in the game to advance the challenger's agenda who's supported by Donald Trump. Here's what they said on CNN about where the race is going, and we'll see tomorrow, what happens. So check this out.
The Trump political world descending on Kentucky, trying to unseat Thomas Massey tomorrow in this Republican primary. What are the prediction markets saying? How is this race going?
To put it mildly, I don't think that Donald Trump likes Thomas Massey. Yeah. And if you look at the prediction markets, it looks like they may get their man. Look at this. Chance that Massey is, in fact, the Kentucky 4 GOP nominee. It has been falling considerably over the last 10 days, according to the cash prediction market. Look at this. It was 71% 10 days ago. Look where that number is now. It's 44%. So chances more likely than not, though it is very close, that Massey will, in fact, go down to defeat. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see the votes getting cast and counted because this is quite close. But any time that an incumbent member of Congress goes down, he has done something seriously wrong in the minds of the voters. And in this case, if Massey goes down, it is that he crossed Donald John Trump.
All I ask, folks, no matter what happens, I'm asking you as a friend, I'm asking you as an ally in this cause, don't get emotional about it. Think of politics. Don't fall in love with candidates. Fall in love with results. Do not get emotional about it. And whatever happens tomorrow, we have to move on. We have to move on. We can't just focus endlessly on this because we have a midterm coming up that is critical for us to stop the endless cycle of useless bullshit impeachments, the endless cycle of weaponization of government that they're going to bring back immediately. They're packed the Supreme Court, add Puerto Rico and D.C. as a state agenda. We are dealing with a very, very serious ideological war right now that candidly, folks, it's the intensity of it is new. The Bill Clinton, John F. Kennedy Democrat Party is not the Democrat Party now. I know you've been told that before, but I can prove it. We have the receipts to back it up. They are back to ideas. I mean, it was Bill Clinton. I'm not celebrating Bill Clinton. I'm just telling you, he gave the speech. You can look it up. The era of big government is over. The Democrat Party had a legitimate moderate wing back then. That wing is gone now. The ideas they're promoting now, folks, have killed and wiped out just entire societies. Starvation in Ukraine. I mean, look all over the world where communism's been tried. Azerbaijan, Bulgaria, the Soviet Union. You get a police state, a surveillance state. I mean, think about it. I mean, East and West Berlin. There was a reason the guns were pointed to East Berlin. They had to keep people in. They couldn't escape fast enough. The minute that the propaganda minister gave that speech about, and he screwed it up, he was like, yeah, you can travel to West Berlin freely. And he forgot to put in all the restrictions. People piled out. Tens of thousands of them could not get out of there to freedom quicker. The reason socialism sucks is because it involves essentially anti-libertarianism and the stealing of your rights. That's what we're fighting against now. Val0260 in the chat. Hey, Dan, greetings from England. Greetings, fine ma'am. Or sir, could be, I don't know. Greetings. Cheerio. Is that a thing still? What are you laughing at, Andy? It's a thing, right? It's like the Italians. Prego. They say prego. I don't even know what it means, prego. I'm Italian. This name's Bongino. Folks, listen to Mamdani. Yes, I know you've heard this. However, I hate when people put Mamdani stuff up and they don't describe why the stuff he's saying is so dangerous. There is a way to explain this to your liberal friends. You can't just say like, Mamdani's attacking, the limited government idea, and that's bad. Why is it bad? Okay, I'm going to explain it to you, but I'm going to play Mamdani first because it is critical that no matter what happens in the intra-party stuff, we keep the inter-party stuff tip of the spear paramount in our minds. Check this out.
I cannot help but think of the words of our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. He famously said, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. It's a good quote, but I disagree. I think 9 more terrifying words are actually, I worked all day and can't feed my family.
Now, I want you to keep in mind that Mamdani, who thinks the government is a solution to your problems, correct? He's attacking Reagan for saying government has caused a lot of your problems, correct? Liberals, logic, let's try it. Please stop clawing at your faces, shitting in your diapers for a second. Sit down, take the freaking cotton out of your ears, jam it in your mouth, and just answer a simple question. Mamdani is clearly saying right now at a rally for a government grocery store in New York, sounds kind of Soviet to me, that government is the solution to the problems in your life. Is he not? He's attacking Reagan for saying the opposite. Logic. Remember like modus tonans and modus polens? You took logic in college. Correct? Good. Thank you. So if the government is the solution to your life, and a third-party actor knows more about your grocery habits and how to run a grocery store than a grocery store, then why isn't there a successful national model of socialist grocery stores where people are eating freely and are healthier? Why hasn't it been tried and worked? Because it's a third-party actor that doesn't know shit about your life. That's the fucking problem. Damn it, I'm trying not to curse. Shit. I just said, I swear I'm trying not to curse. This is what you have to ask. I'm sorry, folks. The kids listen. Kids, don't curse. It's really bad for your mental health. This is very simple. Conservatives try to you got to make it a Wheaties box message, man. People don't have time for a white paper on the failures of socialism and collectivism. They don't, yes, freaking laser eyes. You're damn right. They don't have time for it. Ask them a simple question. Okay, so you think Mamdani's right? Government should control healthcare and now grocery stores? What does the government know about your eating habits? Go. No, just any government aid. Just tell me. The Social Security Administration, New York City DEP, whatever. What do they know? New York City Sanitation Department. What do they know about your? Tell me. What do you eat for breakfast? What do they know? What do they know about that? Tell me what they know about that. They don't know anything about that. Why don't they know about that? Because they don't know you. So if they don't know you, how the hell are they running a grocery store that's supposed to be tailored towards your buying habits? Oh, they don't. Well, what does a private company do? A private company has this thing called marketing, where they want to sell stuff you're interested in, you dipshits. That because they have to make money. It's not going to put products on the shelf that don't interest you. A big zero. They know nothing. Thank you in the chat. That's it. It is the Friedrich Hayek knowledge problem. The government doesn't know shit about you. And they have no interest in knowing shit about you. A free market economy actor that has to sell you something, a phone, food, a car, has to understand your wants and desires, or you're not going to want and buy anything. Do you think Mamdani doesn't know this? This is not about efficiency. It's about control. He wants to control you. That's why the government wants to control the food supply and healthcare. They don't give a damn about your health or your eating habits. All they care about is control and oppression. It's been the essence of every socialist nation state empire since the beginning of time. It's why they all collapse. And when they collapse, people get really pissed off. Look at what happened to Ceausescu in Romania. Show me an example of a successful socialist country. And please, I'm begging you, if you're going to make an ass out of yourself in the chat, be like, Sweden, read the Wall Street Journal article we put on the show just last week about how Sweden is transitioning to a market economy because Democrat socialism has failed, before you make an effing asshole out of yourself. Socialism's so successful in Sweden, they're moving away from democratic socialism to free market models for school and health care. Just read, you imbeciles. You don't have to be stupid. Stupid's a choice. Oh, thank you, guys. Tom Fairless, I'll make it easy for you. Wall Street Journal. The world's most surprising capitalist makeover is underway in Sweden. Please stop being a stupid ass and an imbecile. Read something, you dumb. Sweden is so great. Sweden. Russia's doing great. They're doing fantastic. So's Cuba. Cuba's fantastic. Please stop being stupid. And why is everybody stupid? Everybody's stupid on the left because they're taught to be stupid. It's really not their fault. They're not born stupid.
When we talk about democratic socialism,
Listen.
Margaret, I'm talking about Finland, I'm talking about Denmark, I'm talking about Sweden.
He's talking about Sweden. You know who's not talking about socialism in Sweden? The Swedes. You listen to this dumb loser, who, by the way, is a millionaire himself, flying around in private jets. Keep hitting the microphone. I'm way too excited today. He's a millionaire himself. You know, I got to go a little out of order. Pull up that Hollywood celebrities thing. I'm sorry. This show is going to be all over the place today because I'm in a freaking mood. These people who are telling you to follow the Mamdani model, that government's going to control your health care. You want to get your chest cracked open? They want you to call a government bureaucrat. You need your chest cracked open? Nah, we're good. No, I'm going to die. Yeah, we don't give a shit. We're government. The insurance company tells you that, and it does happen. You can try a different insurance company. When it's the government controlling it, no means no. Means you're dead, and you're going to get dead quick. You've got a bunch of rich millionaires, like Bernie says. And folks, I love millionaires. Great. Millionaires create wealth. Billionaires, good. I'm not telling you every one of them is some kind of saint that should be beatified. However, without people who've created $1 million and $1 billion ideas, none of the technology you're using right now to watch the show even freaking exists. And you don't find it ironic that some of these liberal Karens and others out there who are millionaires themselves are telling you that you don't deserve their level of success through the same system that got them there? Here's this little montage of a bunch of Hollywood zeros at the, what's the name of this movie? I Love Bubbles, Barney? What is it? Is it Bubbles? I Love Boosters. I Love Boosters. I don't even know it's a movie. I really. I so rarely. I go to movies like so unoften, even a word. Here's a Hollywood red carpet asking a bunch of rich zero Hollywood people. I love Bubbles. About capitalism. They got a lot to say about capitalism. Check this out.
The thing that annoys you the most about capitalism. Oh my God. There's a long list.
The only people that really benefit are the top 0.003%.
It's very simple. It's just way too imbalanced. There's no way you need to have all that damn money and people out here and can't eat.
The unfairness of the entire system.
Jason Ritter. Isn't that John Ritter from Three's Company? Is that his kid? Can you look that up? You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Give the effing money back then. Nobody's stopping you in zeros. Give the money away. Show us your principles, man. M-U-H, my principles. You ain't going to do shit. You fake, phony, freaking frauds. That's his dad, right? What was his name? Folks, Three's Company, help me in the chat. What was he, Jack Tripper or something like that? I remember Suzanne Summers, and everybody forgets the other. I don't know. Hey. Your dad was probably making millions of dollars on syndication, you freaking zero. Give the money away. Just give it away. Is that Jack Tripper? Was that his name? Help me out in the chat. Nice job. Jack, no, not Jack the Ripper. That was that Dr. Martian in the chat. Yes, Jack, who said it? Lynn and Jeff, the famous Lynn and Jeff from the chat. I know Lynn and Jeff. They're here every day. Hat tip, Lynn and Jeff. Tip of the hat to you. That's freaking son of Jack Tripper. That should be a movie. You know, like Bride of Frankenstein, son of Jack Tripper. This guy, Jack Tripper's his freaking dad. How much money they make from reruns and syndication? Three's Company is probably still on the air this day. Freaking little Jack Tripper. I don't know, man. Capitalism sucks. Give the fucking money away then, asshole. All right, I'm done. I can't. My wife's going to kill me when I get home. Sorry, guys. She is. She hates when I oh, gosh. I should put like an R rating on it. Then Josh inside's like, yeah, I know. There is good. Yes, we have to. I'm sorry. I can't help it, folks. I hate these zeros. I can't stand them. I get so tired of their lectures and their bullshit. Oh my gosh. Rich Hollywood, son of freaking Jack Tripper. And I don't even know these other people. Who's Poppy Lee and Kiki Palmer? Am I like culturally inept? Am I supposed to know these people? Who are these people? You're taking your life guidance from Zohran Mamdani, who's never had a real job. He's like a rapper prior to this. Bernie Sanders, who's a rich millionaire. Didn't he want to get like married in the Soviet Union? AOC, who actually did have a bartender. All right, she had a real job, but knows nothing about anything. You got Katie Torr, who's like astonished by the idea that rights are endowed by the creator, like she's never heard it before. These are your intellectual scions. This is your Mount Olympus of academia. Jasmine, I'm on fire today, ain't I? This show is like totally off the rails. Guy's about to say something like, it'd be good for you to call a friend on Patriot Mobile and tell him about that. That's where it gets where you're going, right, Guy? Just say it, Guy. God bless you, Dan. From your number one fan in South Africa, X-Woman. Thank you, X-Woman. I told you we have a global audience. I love you guys. The best way to call, that's a good point. The best way to call South Africa, Patriot Mobile. That is genius. That's why we pay Guy the big bucks. He's a capitalist too. Go to patriotmobile.com/Dan. Get a free month of service with offer code Dan. America's about to celebrate its 250th anniversary. Right, Justin? We just found that out today. Crazy. And I believe the direction of the country is being decided right now in the culture and the economy. You can see it. Support companies now that support our causes and are proud of it. Patriot Mobile is one of them. They are not shy about their support of the Christian conservative movement, this country, our founding documents. They love it, as a matter of fact. Patriot Mobile is different. For more than 12 years, they stood with Americans like you who believe in freedom, that it's worth defending. They support the Christian conservative movement. A lot of other companies stayed quiet. Here's the deal. You don't have to give up quality or service when you switch to Patriot Mobile. They deliver premium priority access on 3 major U.S. networks, so you get the same or better coverage than you have today. I use it. I love it. It's on my phone. It has rescued me many times. Think switching's a hassle? It is not. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their 100% U.S.-based customer support team can activate you in minutes. Paula switched us both over in under 5 minutes. Still paying off a device? Patriot Mobile even offers a contract buyout. It's a defining year, folks. Let's work together. Let's save this country. Go to patriotmobile.com/Dan or call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Dan for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Dan or call 972-PATRIOT. Make the switch today. We love Patriot Mobile. Today's show also brought to you by, I'm obsessed with life hacks. Dan, where do you go for your life hacks stuff? Well, Bon Charge. They've been with me a long time. I love life hacks. You guys heard me do a segment on the various uses of red light therapy. Swear by it. It's been amazing for my knee. Incredible. Paula and I believe in it too. Paula uses it on her face. She uses it on her joints after a hard workout. Bon Charge products just meet the mark on this. And now Jasmine's joined us in the biohack journey with her new Bon Charge face mask. Bon Charge is a global leader in premium wellness innovation, grounded in science and driven by purpose. The products work, or I wouldn't recommend them. They've created solutions that fit easily into any lifestyle. They work for me. Paula loves her red light face mask, uses it for about 10-15 minutes a day. The mask is lightweight, portable, contours perfectly to your face, suitable for all skin types, and can support a more youthful complexion, smoother skin texture, and more. Just look up how red light therapy works. That's all I ask. That's why Paula looks like she's still in her 20s. If you're ready to feel better, go to boncharge.com, BONCHARGE, boncharge.com. Use code Bongino to save 15% on your red light face mask. Highly recommend it. If you're ready to feel better, go to boncharge.com. Use code Bongino to save 15% on your red light face mask. Again, that's boncharge, BONCHARGE.com. Use code Bongino to save 15% on your red light face mask. Do it today. Check it out. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA, not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition. Thank you, Bon Charge. Folks, Mamdani's an idiot, okay? If a government supermarket, a government that knows nothing about you, nothing about your buying habits, nothing about your nutrition needs, doesn't care to know anything about it either because it only has an incentive to take taxpayer money and spend it, they will fail. Price controls, which is what he recommended later, and I probably shouldn't have clipped it so soon. That's my fault, not theirs. I sent him the time markers. He goes on to recommend price controls. Ladies and gentlemen, price controls never work. It is very simple. They create the same problems every time. If you artificially lower a price people are willing to pay for, and you artificially lower it, the government says, no, you have to make that product cheaper, what's going to happen? I'll give you the example I always give. It is going to create decreased supply, increased demand, quality problems, and black markets every single time. You like Corvettes? So I don't know what a Corvette goes for now, 90,000, 100, I don't know. I'm not in the market for it. Say it's 100,000. Why is a Corvette expensive? Because there's expensive parts, there's labor that goes into it, there's engineering, there's science that goes into it, wind tunnel testing, all that other stuff, okay? Let's say the government, Mamdani, comes in and says, I mandate that Corvettes are $50,000. What's going to happen? There's going to be a rush to the dealership and increased demand because people are going to try to buy a $100,000 car for $50,000. Well, what's going to happen? There's going to be decreased supply as people scoop up the cars at an artificially low price. There's also going to be a decreased supply because Chevy is not going to produce a $100,000 car for $50,000 and lose $30,000, $40,000 given their margins on every single car. So forget it. The supply dries up. What happens then? Black markets. As people go and buy food products or a Corvette that's worth $100 for $50, then immediately go to eBay and sell it for $100 to other people willing to pay $100. Why were they willing to pay $100? Because that's the price and the market clearing price of the freaking Corvette. And then you're going to get quality problems because if the government comes in with their guns, which they typically do, and force the factories to produce products at a loss, they're going to produce shitty products because there's no incentive to produce a good product. This has only happened every single time in human history. Why won't people ever stop learning from the mistakes of the past? The answer is because academia is polluted. Look at this tweet I saw by Steve Williams about colleges. Why do kids consistently believe that socialism, believe throughout the decades that socialism works despite a 100% success rate of failing? Because, quote, at Steve Stu Will, not only have conservatives become vanishingly rare in academia, so have centrists. That's how complete the left's dominance is. Even moderates are now a fringe group in academia. Why do your kids believe stupid shit that AOC and Mamdani tell them that the government can run a grocery store? The government can't even run a freaking DMV. You want them to run healthcare and a grocery store to feed you? Have you ever heard of the Ukrainian Holodomor? Like, have you ever heard of mass starvation because of communism? Do you even crack a book? Look at this. Far left liberals telling your kids how fantastic socialism is. Really? Go back and look at the Soviet Union. Look at what happened. Here's another one. Folks, hey, young people listening and the people talking to young people, save this chart. At Jason put this out on Twitter. He said legendary chart. You know why this chart is legendary? Because they updated the most legendary chart on Twitter. What stands out? Listen to me. This may be the most important segment of the show. Here is a chart about the costs rising in these certain spaces: consumer goods, services, and wages. What do you know about things that are getting dramatically more expensive? What do you notice about them that are exceeding the overall inflation rate? Food and beverages, hourly wages, medical care services, childcare and nursery school, college textbooks, college tuition and fees, rising above the overall inflation rate. Guys, what do you notice about this? What is the common thread to every one of these arenas where costs are out of control? The government footprint. There is a huge, massive government footprint in every single one of these spaces. Student loans, Medicaid, Medicare, minimum wage laws, housing regulations, food and beverage regulations, and Mamdani trying to create government freaking stores. That's why. The government's the problem. You don't see this? You don't find it ironic that arenas where the government has a small footprint, TVs, computer software, clothing, that costs have been under control or even going down? No, but they're like more affordable. Like, it's the freaking chart, man. And by the way, these are BLS statistics, Bureau of Labor Statistics. So don't tell me like we made it up. Stop being stupid. You don't have to be stupid. Don't be a moron. Folks, there is a war going on against free markets out there. And stop buying the capitalism bullshit. Capitalism isn't even an ism. Capitalism is just a couple of things. A price mechanism instead of price controls where you can pay what you want or not pay. And then they have to charge a competitive price, or else you're going to ration it. Second, the ability to trade your labor for a wage rather than working for the government for a wage they tell you. That's what socialism is. And the ability to own private property. Which one does Mamdani disagree with? Is he turning in his private property? What about son of Jack Tripper? Is he giving back his private property? Isn't he trading his labor for a wage? He gets a wage, right? He doesn't work for the government for a controlled wage. His stuff isn't rationed to him. He chooses the price mechanism. They're all full of shit, man. And then they do this all while trying to wipe out the compass due north of objective truth, and that's faith, family, and God. You heard Katie Torr in the beginning of the show. They're trying to replace rule by humans over rights endowed by the Creator. No, we're not replacing it. That's just the way it is. You don't understand that? Look at this article. Was it the Financial Times? Anti-family propaganda is at an all-time high. Why birth rates are falling everywhere at once. Why does the left engage in anti-family, anti-religion propaganda? Because they don't like a competitor for your values. Katie Torr believes your values and small r rights come from the state. They don't like competition. If you believe your big R rights come from God, you're endowed by the Creator with inalienable rights, then the whole system of socialism can't possibly exist. It's why they hated Pope John Paul and his visits to Poland early on with the Solidarity movement. You want to talk about who took down communism? Thatcher, Reagan. Yeah, of course. Pope John Paul and the Solidarity movement in Poland, that's where a lot of the Iron Curtain collapsed. That's why the CCP hates organized religion. And by the way, hates all organized religion. Why do you think the Chinese Communist Party imprisons the Uyghurs, attacks the Catholic Church? Any organized religion is competition for the state. They also hate results that matter. They can never run against results. When you look at organized leftist movements, they run on bumper stickers. Coexist, tolerance, climate change. How's the climate? Climate always change. Nothing they tell you is ever based in results. It's all hyperbolic bumper stickers. The left is nothing more than a bumper sticker movement. The right is always running against the left and at a disadvantage because it's really hard to make a topic, when I say bleed, I mean it in a way that you can feel it and touch it. The left is very good at that. Obama, hope he change, coexist, tolerance. They're just really good at it. The right has to run on results. And it's hard to get emotional about spreadsheets sometimes. That's why you need creative, gifted people who handle the PR component of politics well. Rubio, President Trump. These guys are really good at this. Results matter. And here is the latest edition from the Nothing is Happening file. And by the way, the doomer and gloomer and black pillar right has fallen into this too. It is really exhausting every day hearing them talk about nothing is happening when every day transformative things are happening that are moving the goalposts towards a leaner, meaner, more effective, liberty-oriented government. It's really exhausting. So this happened yesterday. I want to hat tip the O'Keefe Media Group that had done an expose about voter fraud happening on Skid Row out in California. Fox did a brief hit on this yesterday. These are really important cases that are happening. You can complain about the pace, fine, complain all you want. I'm just telling you, things are happening, and if you're not highlighting them or doing the voters a severe disservice. Check this out.
Federal prosecutors in Los Angeles are set to announce major charges in 2 criminal cases. The first case is against a woman who allegedly paid people, including those who were homeless, on LA's Skid Row to register to vote. The second case is of an alleged anti-Semitic federal hate crime attack at a Los Angeles synagogue.
Again, folks, things are happening all over the place. Good, positive things. Did you see President Trump and his team established a $1.776, you get it? $1776 billion compensation fund for people who are the victims of a weaponized government? Hat tip Eric Daughtry on Twitter. Breaking, it's official. I don't understand. I don't understand the nothing is happening doomers. How you constantly fall on your face, you ignore everything, and you pick one thing. Well, this hasn't happened yet. And then we say, well, that's probably going to happen too, because a lot of this is ongoing. Well, I'll complain about it up till then. You just keep talking. Results matter, folks. I want to show you one thing too, because I talked yesterday about the unbelievably dangerous threat of modern drone warfare. There's a fascinating piece in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, the op-ed column, about how warfare has permanently changed. The old idea of frontline battlefield troops digging trenches and going at with drones, that's over. Those days are over. Thank God we got a guy in charge, and I mean it, I'm not using his name in vain, of the War Department, Pete Hegseth, who understands this now, is moving forward in the Golden Dome initiatives. I just wanted to show you this because this was an initiative from day one. I drove the FBI leadership absolutely freaking bananas about the drone problem, and we moved quick. We got this drone school, thanks to President Trump's executive order, who understands the problem. Here's just a quick Fox hit on that. Check this out.
To keep Americans safe at the World Cup and America 250 and beyond is happening here at this facility behind me. In about 10 minutes or so, another group of state and local law enforcement officers will be graduating the FBI's counter-drone training school, which authorizes them to take defensive action against suspicious drones. Historically, that has been a federal authority. However, after President Trump signed the Safer Skies Act back in December, it opened a pathway to a more coordinated drone defense plan. And the FBI says it is crucial to incorporate local authorities to keep Americans safe.
They're the ones who will be in and around stadiums, patrolling perimeters, protecting the crowds at the World Cup and at our America and Freedom 250 celebrations.
Folks, we knew early on, Cash and I, we can't handle this problem alone in the FBI. So we figured the best idea would be to train state, local, tribal, territorial officers to go out and spread around the country where they can train other people. Obviously, it's a model of geometric growth rather than trying to keep up with a geometric threat with a linear solution. Things are happening. Good things are happening. Don't forget, regardless of what happens today in Kentucky, tomorrow we have to move on. We have inter-party fights with the communist, progressive, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Mamdani left that are politically existential. They are not kidding about their agenda. You want to move towards a Soviet model of an economy, then sit on your ass and do nothing. I'm not in that group of people. By the way, moving forward, there is going to be, speaking of campaigns, the revolution in AI. From this point, it's happening now. It's like a series of tomorrows. It's a series of todays. You've seen Spencer Pratt's AI ads people are putting out for him. I don't even know if they're paid ads by him, it's just people doing it. I saw this one pop yesterday. This is in the New York State governor's race. Bruce Blakeman versus Kathy Hochul, a huge long shot race. Lee Zeldin came close. Horseshoes and hand grenades. I ran myself. Seconds, not the spot. You either win or you don't. But I just want to show you how nothing is going to be the same from this point going forward. You get an AI ad that costs you $1,000 and it goes viral on X. What would have cost you $5 million in an expensive market like New York State to get out will cost you a fraction of that moving forward. This is a pretty creative ad. Well, even at that, Justin knows. He said even 1,000 steep for these ads. This is going to change campaigning forever. Check this out.
Jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay?
Wait! We need you to support our generous social program.
New York, we're better than this.
Start spreading the news. Uncle Bruce is here today.
If we can make it here, why would we ever go anywhere else?
It's up to us. New York, New York.
It's the doctor on X, hat tip. Again, folks, this is going to change everything moving forward. And it's important because these are real fights ahead. I want to show you again what I mean, going back to the dangerous inter-party, not intra-party fights. The fights with the Democrats, the progressives, how this party's been hijacked by lunatics right now. And there are really stupid people in charge. This is what happens when you ask people. This is Will.i.am. Was he in the Black Eyed Peas? I don't know. He was? Okay, because I'm not really hip with the culture stuff. Is Will.i.am. He's a performer. Great. But again, probably a big leftist. I don't know the guy's politics. But he's asked a pretty simple question by Bill Maher about freedom. Freedom, if you're a conservative, means what? Is it a universal or parochial value? If you're a conservative, you know the answer. Freedom is a universal value. There are not different categories of humans that deserve different levels of freedom. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. Any conservative in the chat or libertarian think otherwise? That there are subhumans that deserve less freedom? I want you to listen to the answer. This is a short clip, but believe me, it's worth your time. Again, harping back to the morons on the red carpet, son of Jack Tripper and others. They really believe that there are certain people that are so stupid that they need to be taken care of by the liberal Karens of the world because they're like subhuman. They have lesser degrees of freedom they need. Don't listen to me. Listen to this clip. Check this out.
They don't have freedom. Their people are not free. It is a police state. And when you don't have that,
their freedom is different than their need of freedom is different than our need of freedom.
Not all. That's kind of patronizing to say what another person's need of freedom is. Freedom is freedom. I think they, maybe they don't know. Maybe they're so brainwashed at this point they don't know how much freedom they need. But I think people yearn for freedom and they don't have it.
Say, for example, you come from a place that was war-torn and you want to be free from that. That's different from I want to be free to do something that is not at the same level. So not every freedom is the same freedom. Sometimes you want to be free from tyranny. You want to be free from, people in the Congo want to be free from that that oppression. People in America's freedom is a different freedom. And to say they're the same, that's not fair to those folks that are truly suffering.
You see what happens when you get your history lessons from people like this on TikTok? There are different categories of freedom for like the stupid people and the great unwashed and others. No, there aren't. Will I am not. Let me just tell you to will I am. There are universal values endowed by our Creator with a capital C that apply to all the children of God, not just people in the United States, but the people in the Congo too. They're not subhuman. They understand the idea of freedom as a universal value. This is what we're dealing with. This is the problem we have right now with the left we're fighting, is that they put people in these subcategories of people who have more or less rights based on your category, how they judge you in their eyes. It's how you come up with these morons in the Luigi Mangione case, who is again, everyone's innocent till proven guilty. He's entitled to a trial. I actually believe in due process. However, there's a ton of evidence against Luigi Mangione on trial for the murder of Brian Thompson. And this is how you get people at the scene who play this first, the so-called journalists. They interview these three ladies outside of the courthouse in the Mangione case. This is what happens when people get different levels of freedom. Like healthcare CEOs. Well, healthcare CEOs, they're not entitled to the same degree of freedom as everyone. Really? That's fascinating. And it's interesting how you hated this healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, so much. You think he should be murdered. Yet when governments impart a rationing system on healthcare, put up the Daily Mail article if you could, ration healthcare to people who die by the tens of thousands on waiting lists, you don't apply the same logic. Dan, produce receipts. Here you go, mother. March 30th, 2026. Daily Mail. No big conservative outlet. GPs told to delay referring 1 in 4 patients to the hospital in an awful new drive to cut waiting lists. Rationed healthcare waiting lists. There are your receipts. I don't hear these people talking about that. What about the tens of thousands of people that are dying there? Because of your government model. You see how full of shit they are? Listen to these lunatics outside the Mangione trial. Check this out.
What was that? I didn't get that, what you said. I'm standing on business. Fuck Brian Thompson. I don't give a flying fucking dime. Millions of Americans
liked it. He's responsible for more deaths than Osama bin Laden. And I remember Americans celebrating when Osama bin Laden was killed. It's not like we don't understand heroic violence or like when violence is good. That's like, as America got.
I mean, why do we protect the Second Amendment so much? Is it to allow people to shoot up schools, or is it for to protect our democracy? I think it's to protect our democracy.
Folks, do you see where this is going? When you don't believe freedom is a universal value applied to all, that there are subcategories of people and businesses you don't like and elsewhere that aren't entitled to the same freedoms because you don't like free market healthcare options, so they should be murdered? You see where this goes when you don't have a universal respect for human life? I'll show you what it looks like in Quebec. I know I have that other one, but there is a proposal in Canada to allow the parents of children born with some difficulties to murder the children after they're born. They're calling it, by the way, like care, which they always, reproductive care, which means the right to kill an infant in the womb, which means the right not to reproduce. This is an actual thing. Do you see where society goes when you start to impart upon people different categories of what should be universal values? How you can start to exterminate. You see how this gets ugly? Well, what kind of people do you think don't deserve full freedoms? Well, definitely not children with developmental disabilities. We should kill them. Well, what about older folk? Yeah, you know what? I think people who have dementia and Alzheimer's, we should kill them. Man, and then it goes like, well, what about people who are prone to Alzheimer's in their 60s? Yeah, we should kill them too. We'll save the money in advance. What about people with cancer? Let's kill them too. We don't need them. What about people who may have been born with a dysfunction, a genetic dysfunction in their left knee, like Osgood Schlatters or something? We should kill them too. Do you see where this goes? Justin said it right. What about just straight up older folks? They're you know, the left, they're like, they're not useful to us anymore. They're not working. Yeah, they worked their whole lives to feed your ass. Well, we're good with them now. Just like whack them. Do you understand where this is going to go? When you subscribe to the will I am, different people get different values, different freedoms. Listen to this press conference in Quebec. You're not going to believe this is actually being proposed, but it is. Check this out.
A member of the Quebec College of Physicians has formally stated that MAID may be an appropriate treatment for babies from birth to 1 year of age, who come into the world with severe deformities and very serious syndromes, and that parents should have the opportunity to obtain this care for their infant. This medical practitioner's proposal goes further. He calls for the calculated killing of an infant. These are patients, babies, who cannot speak, cannot consent, and cannot ask for help. If we cannot draw the line here, I'm not sure where medical professionals imagine the line to be. The second concern is a proposal regarding mature minors. A physician, not a child's parent, would determine whether a child is able to consent to his own death. In this discussion, MAID advocates showed their true colors and defended the rationale for euthanizing minors without consulting their parents. The third concern is euthanasia on demand. Ontario's chief coroner has documented MAID deaths driven not by illness, but by poverty, loneliness, and lack of housing. Approximately half of those who died by MAID in 2024 reported requesting it because they felt like a burden to their families, friends, or caregivers. These are not necessarily people dying of terminal illness. These are Canadians failed by a system that chose to offer them lethal injection rather than the support and hope they needed to live.
God bless America says in the chat, this is some Nazi shit. You're damn right it is. And by the way, folks, the people making these decisions about who should be exterminated or not, because freedom isn't a universal value, there are subcategories of subhumans we need to get rid of. Health problems, developmental disabilities, people who don't have blue eyes and aren't cute enough for you, and the looks maxing movement. We should just whack them. That's exactly what the Nazis believed. And for those of you out there in the LGBTQIA 2+, 1A2, whatever I forget all the II2, they're adding letters by the day community. You know, the Nazis didn't think really kindly of you too. And you know the ironic part about that is some of the Nazi officers were actually gay themselves, and Hitler knew about it. But as long as they were useful in exterminating other people who were gypsies and gay and Jewish and others, they used them. Do you understand where this goes? This is why I'm telling you, no matter what happens in Kentucky and elsewhere, we have a real fight starting tomorrow. Everyone here needs to dust off and understand this is not a fight of luxury. Like, oh, you know, we can just afford to be angry about. You cannot afford to be angry, but you got a country to save. You want this stuff in Canada filtering across the border? It's already across the border here. Remember Obama? You know, you could just take the pill. I don't want to take the pill. I want to spend another year with my grandmother. She's since passed, but what I wouldn't give to be able to tell her about, you know, my mother, and I only, that's it. I got, my father's the only one left. I don't want him to take the pill. There's no pill that's going to replace the value of a phone call when something great happens to your life, to your dad or your mom or your grandmother. No pill that's going to replace that. Folks, we're going to a dangerous place. And just remember, no matter what happens, dust off, get up tomorrow, and remember what the real fight is. All right, I had some other stuff too. And by the way, just so we're on the record about this, political violence is absolutely 100% unequivocally unacceptable, period. You saw what happened yesterday in San Diego. What happened in San Diego, all of it is inexcusable. This is not difficult to call out. I don't care who the victim and perpetrator are. If you are shooting or killing people for some sick ideological reason, you are the bad guy. That is it. This is not hard to do. All right. I have Jonathan Alpert coming up. And this was the press conference yesterday. San Diego mosque shooters are dead. This is not difficult to call this stuff out. I can't understand why people just can't take a stand on this. It's not hard. I got Jonathan Alpert coming up next. Just, again, a quick backstory. I saw his content in the Wall Street Journal about this victim culture now, baby and our kids, Trump derangement syndrome. It was fascinating. Going to be an amazing interview. You're not going to want to miss it. Let me get to my my last sponsor, and then we'll get to our interview with John Alpert. His book is called Therapy Nation. Therapy Nation. Quick question. How much control do you actually have over your money right now? It's a serious question. Technology's changed everything. Now it's changing how money works. Crypto started as a niche, but now it's mainstream. Faster payments, more control, fewer middlemen. It's not hype. It's where things are going and where they are right now. Getting started today is a lot easier than you think. With Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, hold dollar-backed stable coins, even own digital gold backed by real gold, all in one place. The setup is really simple. I'm not super technologically advanced on the user side. And for me, it was super simple. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your debit card, credit card, or bank account and be up and running in just minutes. It's not about the amount. It's about getting in early and understanding what's coming next. Once you're set up, you can even tip your favorite Rumble creators as well. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game just like that. Take control of your money. Get started with Rumble Wallet today. Download the Rumble Wallet app. Get started today. Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. See terms at wallet.rumble.com. Welcome to the show today, Jonathan Alpert. Just a little quick background. I love the Wall Street Journal op-ed column, read it all the time, said that often. And I found Jonathan Alpert's work in there. He wrote some incredible opinion pieces about things you and I are concerned about, the pervasive nature of victim culture, things like that. He has a book out today. It's called Therapy Nation, how therapy's basically become a crutch for a lot of folks in America. He is a psychotherapist. Jonathan Alpert, welcome to the show. So great to have you.
Dan, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You got it. So I've read your pieces in the Wall Street Journal. I've referenced them on the show multiple times now. I want to get into this whole and I don't want to make this a political conversation, but politics are part of it because people are using it as a crutch, I think, for other problems. However, I do want to start with your book, Therapy Nation, and this whole, I think, very dangerous idea of victim culture. In other words, that you as an individual just don't have agency. And there's nothing wrong with, again, I think, discussing your problems with people and finding a solution. However, the whole idea of victim culture, and you deal with this every day, is that you don't really have agency, that there are deep, dark forces that are holding you down. And if that's what you believe, there's no way to fix it.
Right. And part of the problem with my profession, and I talk about it a lot in Therapy Nation, is therapists are keeping people stuck and they're creating this victimhood mentality. So instead of challenging people, helping them to create a sense of agency, as you indicated, they're just affirming and validating them, and everyone's a victim. And unfortunately, we're seeing this play out in horrific ways, whether it's people attempting to assassinate Donald Trump or Charlie Kirk, or even, in this case is, I think, a perfect example, Luigi Mangione, who felt it was his right, his duty to take out the United Healthcare CEO. He had such grievances and gripes with the insurance company that he felt it was his right and his duty to do that. So grievance culture is a very, very dangerous thing. And us therapists, we need to stop putting out there what we're putting out there. And we just see it play out in such terrible ways. And I think part of the problem is therapists are afraid to challenge their patients. They just appease them. They will just say, well, of course it's everyone else's fault. It's not your fault. You're perfect the way you are. So it's always the boyfriend's fault, always the manager's fault, always someone else's fault. It's about time that therapists challenge patients and not continue to make everyone feel like a victim.
Jonathan, I think of a scenario earlier in my life. I was in college. I was on my own. I was struggling with money. I was working in a local bagel store. I really hadn't done well. For the first time, I'd gotten a D in a class. It was really rough. And I just remember, going in, there was this young man, Anthony, who'd struggled a lot with drugs. He'd moved from Alaska. Long story short, I'm talking to him and I'm complaining and whining. It's over. Life is blah, blah, blah. And I remember him looking at me while he's working the cash register and saying, Dan, I really don't give a shit. Are you going to show up for work tomorrow or not? Or if you're not, I'm just going to have to get a replacement. And I got to tell you, this is now, I don't know, 30 plus years later. And I still remember that moment because for the first time, and again, I'm not telling you problems and discussing them can't help at times, but excessive complaining, sometimes you need someone in therapy or whatever it is to tell you, maybe it's you and maybe you should figure out a way. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, Dan. And everyone needs a guy like your coworker there at the bagel shop. And a lot of times that should be the therapist to confront you. I've had people who have confronted patients. Let's say they're participating in bad behavior. In my book, I cite one story of a patient who was doing drugs. And I said, look, you really should stop doing these drugs. Long story short, a few weeks later, he fired me. He didn't like the way that I confronted him. He said, well, I've been to so many therapists. I've never had a therapist tell me I should just stop doing drugs. As a therapist, it's my duty. It's my responsibility to call out bad behavior. But therapists have become so soft and they're creating this fragility. And it really extends into dangerous places. And if a therapist only affirms and validates, we're going to see things playing out in very dangerous ways. We see that with the whole trans movement where therapists will affirm and validate young kids. And, well, of course you feel this way, it's okay, instead of challenging them. So we really need to be careful. I heard of a story where someone was in love with his tree in his front yard. So I don't mean he just thought it was a beautiful tree and liked it like that. He actually was in love with it. He would sit with it. He would talk to it. He would even caress this tree. To me, that's sick and pathological behavior. But apparently the therapist was just validating that and essentially creating this situation where he continued to love this tree at the cost of forming normal, healthy relations with human beings. So there you go. That's my profession for you.
Well, listen, having, I always say if you're citing your education, you're probably a moron. So I'm asking for a dispensation on this. But having that was my undergrad was psychology. My graduate degree was in neuropsychology. I'm not unfamiliar with this. Was not in therapy. It was more in the scientific, neuroscience component of it. However, I'm not unfamiliar with the space. Jonathan Alpert, author of Therapy Nation, for those listening on Apple and Spotify. Jonathan, another thing I try to impart upon my children, to impart upon them individual agency, in other words, you have control over your life, is I say to them often, if they've done something wrong, if you were watching yourself in a movie, would you be proud of the person in the movie? And typically they'll say to me, no, whether if I didn't catch them stealing it, but imagine I did, right? Would you like that? And they said, no, I wouldn't. And I think with this TDS, this Trump derangement syndrome, which people laugh about, but it's a very real thing, how these people, they want this collective guilt. All you Republicans, all you MAGA people are guilty about something. So it's social murder and micro looting and stealing from people is okay. But I think when you say to them, would you be proud of a person outside of those circumstances if you watch them stealing or murdering someone in the street in that movie, the answer is going to obviously be no. This is a really dangerous time if there aren't more people like yourself speaking out, against this collective guilt nonsense.
Right, you raise a good point, and if you ask them to step out of the situation and look at it, they'll say, well, of course murder is not okay, of course committing these crimes is not okay, but there's an exception, and I've seen this because I've confronted countless people on it. There's an exception. When it comes to Trump, well, but he's dangerous, he's evil, he's a Nazi, he's going to ruin democracy, so they rationalize this behavior. And I do think it starts with the small things, like you mentioned micro looting. And here in New York City, where I am, I believe you can steal up to $800 worth of product, which to me is much more than micro looting. That's a sizable amount. And I remember the first time that I witnessed that at a Duane Reade, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was taught you don't steal anything, even if it's a 5-cent item, you just do not steal. But we have a culture where people they think it's okay. We have famous people, AOC, and actors and famous people out there saying, well, these people must be in need. Of course, they need to steal. So we have a real problem with society. And then regarding TDS, I've made it clear that we don't actually have a diagnosis called TDS, but I've also made it crystal clear that a lot of the pathology that I'm seeing with my patients does resemble actual disorders out there. So the obsessiveness around Trump, the fixation, the hyperfixation on Trump, the high anxiety, the way that Trump just dominates all their thinking. I tell the story about how some patients couldn't even relax. They couldn't possibly take a vacation as long as they knew that Trump was in office. And the thinking around this is so dangerous. Imagine an 80-year-old telling you that they hope someone gets killed. It's hard to believe, but I've actually heard it from 80-year-olds. I've heard it from 20-year-olds. It's astonishing that people can hate someone so much that they don't even know that they want this person dead. So I try my best as a therapist to challenge that thinking. Sometimes I'm successful, other times they fire me. They're like, I can't see you. You sound like a MAGA therapist. And the truth is, I treat everyone. I don't care if you're a liberal or a conservative. I'll treat anyone. But we actually have therapists nowadays who refuse to treat someone who is a Trump supporter. And that's a very sorry state of affairs for my profession.
You're not kidding. We're talking to Jonathan Alpert, author of the book out today. Pick it up wherever you get your books. It's called Therapy Nation. And also I highly, highly recommend go to the Wall Street Journal site, put in the search function his name, Jonathan Alpert, Alpert. Read the articles. They are fantastic. There's 2 or 3 of them up there. They're very good. I remember reading a book, Jonathan, back in the day. M. Scott Peck, who since passed, wrote the famous Road Less Traveled book. But he wrote another book, doesn't get as much publicity as The Road Less Traveled, which sold tens of millions of copies. It's called People of the Lie. And he was in this psychotherapy space like you were, obviously a very famous author, and would document these cases of these patients who would come in and were just pathologically incapable of telling the truth even to themselves. And when you see a patient like that, is that just a diagnosable, like sociopathic behavior that it's just, you're not going to fix it, like almost like, an incurable cancer? Or is there a way to break them out of that? Because if there's not, and those people transfer those feelings into the political space, I've got a really bad feeling that political violence is going to become even worse than it is now, and it's already at red line levels.
Yeah, well, I do challenge these people, but a lot of times they're hearing all this messaging from the media, from mainstream media, that paints Donald Trump as an evil dictator. So they start to believe that. And the real problem is when that information gets into the head of the wrong person. We saw that play out a few weeks ago at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and we've seen it play out a few other times. If you think back to when Reagan was shot, John Hinckley was truly psychotic. He was actually hearing voices in his head that were telling him to attempt to kill President Reagan. And today, people are hearing voices, but they're not psychotic voices in their head. These are voices from mainstream media, whether it's the Joy Reids out there or Don Lemons out there. They're hearing these voices. They feel that it's their right and their duty and even their responsibility to take action. They feel like they're doing good for society by attempting to take out President Trump. So yeah, no, we should really be concerned. And therapists, I mean, they're hating Trump. They're putting messages out there. I mean, I look at social media. I see what people are putting out there. My colleagues. Georgetown University, I believe the day after Trump won, had an emergency session for students to help them cope with the loss, to help them deal with their mental health. And I do wonder, what if Kamala Harris had won? Would they have extended that same service to students who maybe supported Donald Trump?
Yeah. Talking to Jonathan Alpert, author of the books Therapy Nation. I guess regarding my prior question, where I was going with this is, I understand how a person who is some pathological, psychological DSM diagnosable disorder, who's a sociopath, may turn to murder. It happens all the time. We see it with serial killers, murderers, gang members, people who just have no sense of empathy, sympathy, anything like that. What worries me is, and I think this is where you were going with that, is the constant, Manichaean end of times dystopian talk that President Trump is not just a bad politician, air quotes, but he's on the equivalent of Hitler, who exterminated millions of people. That's a different level. What worries me is when you look at like the White House Correspondents' Dinner, for example, and again, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. He's a suspect, but the suspect in the case, there's a lot of evidence there, no doubt. He doesn't seem like he was living, based on the evidence we have now, the life of a standard sociopath, right? He seems like he was just a regular guy. That's what's got me worried, that this constant pampering and fluffing of the Manichaean idea that if this guy got elected again, your kids are going to be put in extermination camps is going to turn even normal people into potential killers.
Yeah, and these people are living amongst us, and we do have to be careful. If you have someone who's expressing hatred towards Trump, you do have to gauge, like, well, how serious is this? Like, do you have an actual plan? Do you hate him so much that you're going and getting a gun and you're gonna like plot out some crazy act? I think we have a responsibility because we've seen it can be, the guy, the 20-something who is our neighbor, or someone who's older. We have to be careful. This does not like discriminate against age. I mean, I've seen it with 20-year-olds. I've seen it with older people. So we have to take very seriously this. We have to be hyper vigilant and alert, because no longer can we just brush it off as, oh yeah, he doesn't mean anything by that. We have to like actually ask them, well, are you seriously thinking about doing something about this?
Yeah. Talking to Jonathan Alpert, again, author of the book Therapy Nation. Jonathan, your field is, I've not spent nearly the amount of time you have, however, just in school for 6 years and dealing with other people later on in the space, especially in the Secret Service, where we're constantly talking to psychologists, psychotherapists, psychiatrists, and elsewhere, because we get a lot of people with problems that threaten the president. So we have to speak to the mental health professional about it. It tends to lean left, a little bit liberal. I have to imagine that you speaking out so publicly was not a very popular move in your space. Therefore, this is why I wanted to have you on. Number one, to introduce you to my audience, to celebrate the bravery of someone coming out and saying, like, hey, man, maybe we got to give people the Ipecac syrup once in a while and stop giving them like honey. That's going to make it worse. But I have to imagine in your space, you probably get a lot of emails, especially after your Wall Street Journal pieces that are so public, from people probably attacking you and telling you, you're just wrong. And you need to highlight the dangers of Trump, not talk people off the ledge from this stuff.
Yeah, and you're right. And these aren't just everyday people. These are licensed therapists. These are people that we trust to help us deal with our problems. And the hate emails were just astonishing. I mean, probably too much profanity to say on your show, but like F you, I hope you die. I mean, one comes to mind that was a voicemail that was left to me by a psychologist. She said, I hope you die like Charlie Kirk. You're probably effing. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the things that people say. And this speaks to the TDS, and it proves my point. Like, if you have such hatred towards a political figure, that you're willing to tell a stranger like me, someone you don't even know, that you hope they die, you're sick, you have serious, profound mental health problems. And sadly, these are my colleagues. You're right. I'm probably one of the lone conservative therapists out there. But there are, I know of a handful, and they're very good therapists, and they do good work. Yeah, yeah. But it's interesting, with Trump, there's so much hatred towards him, and so many of my patients on the left, they want him dead. After Butler, they were so disappointed that the shooter didn't have better aim, et cetera, et cetera. But with my patients on the right, never, ever, ever did I hear them say that they hope Biden gets shot or dies. Never said that they hope Kamala Harris dies. They didn't like these people. They thought they were stupid. They hated them, whatever. But never, ever did they say they hope they get killed. So therein lies the difference. The party that's supposedly all about acceptance and diversity, blah, 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 is not very accepting of people who have different political views. They actually see them as the enemy and they want them dead. So, I think that party needs to reevaluate what they're putting out there.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's anecdotal, but it is evidence to back up the premise that this is not symmetric on both sides. There was a very liberal journalist, commentator years ago, I don't know, 5 years plus, that went to CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, obviously full of conservatives. And she writes in the piece rather openly that I was expecting, middle fingers, be booed, thrown out, maybe even assaulted. And she writes in the piece, maybe it was a he, I forget, it doesn't really matter, but writes in the piece, I was actually stunned. Like, people were interested in talking to me, finding out why I thought the things I believed. Again, I'm not telling you, in some utopian fallacy that every single person on our side is perfect and beyond reproach. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, as looked at collectively, which the left always prefers to do, ironically, this is not a symmetric problem. You go to a Trump rally as a black man, a Hispanic man, a Jewish man, a Muslim man, I promise you, I will saw off my right arm and send it to you. If you can show me video of tens and hundreds of people cussing you out just because of who you are, it's not going to happen. It's been written about over and over. You will be welcomed with open arms as long as you're not openly hostile to anyone else.
Yeah, no, that's a great story, and I'm not so sure that the liberals would accept a conservative who's just curious about their party or their rally, whatever the case may be. A couple months ago, during one of the No Kings rallies, whatever you want to call them, here in New York, I was walking around sort of after, just looking at the aftermath, and I would see the heaping high piles of all the F Trump signs. And I'm just looking at it in amazement. And this woman came up to me and she's like, "Aren't these great?" And I just kind of paused, looked at her. I'm like, "I don't know. I kind of like some of what Trump's doing." And she turned to me and she said, "Well, fuck you then." And I was like, whoa, like she doesn't know me at all. And like she was, felt like she could just scream at me like that. And I mean, I can't imagine ever turning to a stranger and saying that. I mean, I'd be afraid they'd have a gun or would kick my ass or whatever. But it's amazing that people feel so empowered and so fueled by their hatred and triggered that they're willing to say that to a perfect stranger. I just walked away. I was absolutely astonished, but not surprised when you think about it. There's such hatred and hostility amongst some of the people on the left. There was actually a study that came out a few weeks ago, and I believe it showed that just over a third of people interviewed believe that political violence is justified in some cases. So, we're in a very, very difficult place when a third of people think violence is okay when it comes to political differences.
Yeah, Jonathan, and this is not hard. I mean, I can't tell you, if we put a supercut together of how many times, right, Justin, I've spoken out loudly, boldly, vigorously against political violence, it'd be an hour long. I mean, this is not hard. We air our grievances at the ballot box and on the debate stage. This is not even difficult. It's not difficult to say. There was an attack in San Diego yesterday. It was against a Muslim center. Horrendous, tragic. I talked about it earlier in the show. Disgusting. Don't do it. It's just not hard. I just don't get it. Let me ask you one final question. I am a big Maha guy. I'm a health hacker. I know this isn't a health hack segment. However, I find, and again, these are just kind of anecdotes from friends of mine. I'm obviously not going to mention any names, but the over-medication of our kids with, diagnosed psychiatric, psychological disorders, like the ADHD, which we just called like being a kid, like, oh, he's just a rough and tumble kid. Like, I'm not telling you that doesn't exist, that there probably aren't kids who probably have some kind of gating issue with attention span. But it's like, really? We've got these kids, Jonathan, on these unbelievably powerful stimulants that can be psychologically addictive. I mean, who the hell knows what's going to happen to them long term? I got to tell you, from the Maha perspective and just from like a moral perspective, this really disturbs me.
Well, Dan, and it should disturb you. It disturbs me too. We have therapists that are pathologizing ordinary life. Had a bad day? Well, you must be depressed. Having a bad day is absolutely normal and it should be expected. And that's how we build character. That's how we grow as a person. Even a bad week or two is normal, but there's such a rush and a tendency to pathologize these ordinary experiences, rush and get meds. Doctors are quick to give out meds. The ADD that you mentioned, forgetting something, being late to an appointment a few times, being disorganized, that does not mean that you have ADHD. And unfortunately, we have so-called influencers online putting out this garbage. Well, five things to look for that would suggest you have ADHD. We see it with narcissists. We see it with borderline bipolar. We have complete morons on social media putting this stuff out there, and they have millions of followers, and then people start to believe that. And with medication, just like you wouldn't like take an opioid for a paper cut, like you shouldn't be jumping to an antidepressant just because you're having a bad day. But we have doctors that are quick to give this out. We see it with Ozempic. People are taking that like it's nothing without any consideration of the possible side effects. I always say medication will not give you insight, and it will not teach you skills and tools to deal with problems. It's not going to give you tools to deal with anxiety or depression. It's just going to numb you up and make you feel better in the moment. But we have a serious, profound problem in our society, and a lot of it does go back to my profession, therapy and therapists. So it's about time we make some changes with that.
And Jonathan, overly medicating people who are dealing with an obstacle in their life steals away from them the opportunity to have dealt with that obstacle and overcome it. I mean, that is what builds the character traits for success in life. I wrote an entire book about things I failed at, not because I was happy about the failure, but because I wouldn't have done the succeeding thing afterwards that was a success. It would never have happened if it wasn't for the preceding failure where I had to dust off. So I just think medicating the heck out of people, and I'm not suggesting a universal solution that these medications at times can't be valuable to people. I mean, you lose a son or a daughter to some tragic event. There may be a day or two after that where that's just overwhelming. I understand. I'm not here to judge. I went through chemo and was on a lot of these medications myself. However, every small, I have anxiety. Oh, whatever, take a Klonopin or that. Like, that's not going to fix that for you. You have to learn those coping skills.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's such a there's a quick fix culture, and we see it with Ozempic. We see it with so many issues, feeling stressed, pop a pill. Can't achieve an erection, pop a pill. Want to lose weight, pop this pill. There's no agency. People aren't willing to do the hard work like you did to get to where you are today. You do have to fall on your face a few times to build character and to build strength. And there's something to be said for good old-fashioned self-help and really trying to develop strength and autonomy and character that allows people to persevere through difficult times. And, honestly, I think we're raising a bunch of wimps. Therapy culture creates fragility and weakness. Blaming everyone else for your problems instead of looking at yourself is not going to get people better. So with therapy, people go in, they vent, they get stuff off their chest, and they feel better in the moment. And then they go back and do it all over again 6 or 7 days later. So it feels good. It's almost like a drug, a medication. But there's a big difference between feeling good in the moment and actually getting better. And when patients see me, I don't want to see them for years and years. I tell them, like, look, let's set up a plan. Let's figure out how you can get from point A to point B, and let's set some clear goals. But not a lot of therapists are doing that. They have patients that are in there for life. They're seeing them weekly for 5, 10, 20 years. It's absolutely ridiculous. People aren't getting better, yet they keep going back. And, I use the metaphor, would you keep going to a hairdresser if you didn't like the haircut that you were getting? Right. Probably not. Would you keep going to a fitness trainer if you weren't getting in shape? Probably not. So we should have the same standard when it comes to therapy.
Jonathan Alpert, what a great interview. I was hoping for 15, 20 minutes. I went way over. I said last question probably twice, and I just kept...
There's a lot to talk about, Dan.
Well, we'll definitely have you back. I think you're a fascinating guest. I just want to make sure we get a promotion for the book. And again, the book is called Therapy Nation, out today. Pick it up wherever you get your books. The subtitle of the book is How America Got Hooked on Therapy and Why It's Left Us More Anxious and Divided. And again, read his pieces in the Wall Street Journal. They are fantastic. Try any search engine, put his name in, and you'll see the articles pop up. Jonathan, thanks so much. As I said, welcome back anytime, and good luck with the book. It's definitely
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it so much. Take care.
You got it. That was Jonathan Alpert, folks. Go pick up the book today. Fascinating interview. Again, I try to keep them to 15 or 20 minutes, but sometimes they just go over. We all needed to hear a little bit of that. Check out Haley coming up at noon, rumble.com/Haley. Check out Vince Colonnace every day, rumble.com/Vince at 8 a.m., 0800 Eastern time. We really appreciate you supporting their shows. They're fantastic. Please download the Rumble app. It is free. Also, if you could follow us on Apple and Spotify, I know a lot to ask. I just really appreciate it. It's all free. You want to watch us on the web, we'll do that. Rumble.com/Bongino. You can watch us on your smart TV too. Oh, look at that. 3.64 million followers. Yeah, you were stealing away my other 04 there. No, give us a follow while you're there. Rumble.com/Bongino. Check us out on your smart TV too. I will see you back here tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Hey there, I'm Vince.
I'm Haley Caradia,
Host of Vince.
host of Scrolling with Haley.
You can always catch my show right here
On the Bongino Report.
live, 8 a.m. Eastern, weekday mornings.
Weekdays at noon. If you miss it, no worries. The show will always be
Right here
and anywhere you find podcasts. Thanks for watching.